why we don't give, why we don't try. Blame you for the fiction skies with your deep space lies, but the truth will rise. Don't see no real satellites. Yeah, we believe what they said too soon about the stars and the moon. In a rush for the truth, we believe with no proof, lost in the romance. We must ask why. And did they think it was fine to let us think we're less than divine? Whoa, whoa. We know you've never reached the moon, that it's all cartoons, that it's all just skies. We hide and we accept their lies, but we must see why we need to rise. Don't see no real satellites. Now we lost what it means to be true. Are you sure that it's you? If you could open your eyes, you would see we've been fooled. Don't wonder why. Just open up your mind.
Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Flat Earth Podcast. I'm your co-host for now, Matt Long from flatearth.com, and with me as always is Dave from Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. Dave, how's it going, man?
It's going really fantastic. It's been a while, but we've both been so busy with life.
Yeah, life is a good way to put it, man, as all our listeners will surely understand that things get in the way. And since no one is just sending us piles of money to do this all the time, hint, hint, sometimes certain things have priorities, right?
There you go. So let's get the elephant, the pink elephant, out of the room or whatever
Okay.
it is.
Okay.
You have met somebody, which you mentioned a couple of days ago, and now
That
you're
is
getting
correct.
married.
That is that's a fact, Dave. that is correct. Yes.
That is amazing.
Is it just an announcement, or are there more probing questions into my personal life beyond just the announcement here?
I don't know how much you want to share. You've met her.
My life is an open book for the most part. Yes, I met her in Canada.
Yeah, you met her at the conference in Canada. So you were with her for 2 days, 3 days?
Yeah, a couple days. We got to know each other. Weren't sure what would happen beyond that. I live in Texas. She lives in Canada. So we really didn't interact too much other than just kind of talking back and forth. And a couple weeks after that, we really started talking a lot and come to find out that we were soulmates. So flat earth soulmates.
Then you went back to Canada and visited with her for 4 days, was it?
About 4 days, yes.
Then back to Texas, some more online chatting.
Correct.
And then back to Canada for 10 days.
That is correct.
Then you went down to Skyfall, which we'll talk about in a minute, which was the...
Well, Skyfall happened, and then I went back to Canada.
Oh, Skyfall happened, and then you went to Canada for 10 days.
That's correct.
And then you popped the question.
That is correct, yes. And we've probably known for a few weeks that we were going to get married, but yes, I officially popped the question. That is correct.
This just truly amazes me. Since I'm a heathen living with my girlfriend for 11 years, we have not gotten married.
Well,
does that mean I'm going to hell?
Dave, that's a difficult question. I think there's probably a lot of things you are going to hell for prior to
getting to that one.
Yeah,
the list is already checked off.
Yes,
Okay.
I think there's a long list of stuff that we're gonna have to go through.
Wait a minute. I have a question since you brought that up. If the checklist is already all right, you're going to hell, and then they get down, I'm already going to hell. Does that give me a different priority in hell? the fact that they had another check after I've already been admitted?
That's a great question. I don't know. We talk about getting to heaven and having different priorities in heaven. I don't know that I've done the study for hell since I was pretty sure I wasn't going there. So that's something maybe you and I ought to talk about offline.
We
maybe.
will.
I don't know.
Just for the record, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to hell either.
Okay, well that's a wonderful thing. I would say you've had a different perspective on life than myself. I personally feel, based on my beliefs and what the Bible tells me, that I think you should get married, Dave. And
I think we essentially are married in our hearts and in our personal spiritual realm, that we are a couple.
And believe me, I am not saying that you need to buy the state to get married. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Okay. All right.
So there may be a compromise in there somewhere.
Absolutely. I'm not saying this is a bad idea. I'm just saying it is so far outside of my realm of the way I see the world.
Sure.
That it's amazing, and I wish you the best.
Man, I appreciate it.
All right.
I think it's going to be the best.
Are you going to become a Canadian citizen?
I will attempt to get some kind of residency, something. I'm in the middle of trying to figure all that out. So,
all right.
I'm surprised the questions didn't get more personal, but
I was trying to be. Well, okay. Now that you opened the door, how old are you, Matt? Can you share your age?
I'm 36.
You're 36, so essentially, she's jailbait, pretty much, right?
She is a little bit younger, but let me explain something. Is
a little bit younger? Please define a little bit younger. Does the first digit begin with a 1?
It does not begin with a 1.
Well, let's thank God for that.
Okay, so I'll just tell you this, that I believe that God decides who is right for you, and I believe that there were a number of things that when I decided where my life was going, that looking for someone who was 25 years old, 3 kids, living in northern Alberta were 3 things that were not at the top of my list. Unfortunately, as I've told many people, I cannot unmeet this girl. She is perfect for me, and we are going to champions for life from here forward. So, it's 2 great flat Earth bloodlines coming together in holy union to further our flat Earth world domination.
That is so exciting and so amazing. But just as many people that are unfamiliar with who you are and who she is, you said she's 25 and she has 3 kids. How old are they? 7, 9, and 11?
1, 2, and 3.
1, 2, and 3. Now that's a handful.
That's correct. It is a handful, but you know what?
Have you changed a diaper yet?
I have.
You have?
Yes.
Very good. Well, what a great husband you will make.
Thank you, Dave.
All right, so should we get on with the show?
I thought that was the show. I thought we were done.
Okay, we could be. That's mind-blowing enough for me.
But let me just summarize with, this is the love of my life. I'm so excited to have met Jessica, and I cannot wait to start my life with her. So,
well, congratulations.
Please don't cut that part out.
I won't. Don't worry.
Which funny story, her dad was listening to the podcast randomly the other day, and he told me, I was listening to a podcast, listening to David Weiss, and there was this other guy talking. I couldn't figure out why his voice sounded so familiar. And he said, then I realized I was listening to you all afternoon.
that is so funny.
Yeah, so pretty cool.
The fact that he knew who I was, is also funny.
That's right. That's right.
So what do you want to talk about on this episode?
I had not intended to get so far into my personal life, but thank you for going there.
Your life's an open book, a biblical one at that.
That's right. That's right. So I just got back from Skyfall down in Alabama, hosted by Dean Odell. We had an unbelievable conference. It was me, Robbie Davidson, Pastor Nate, who is the pastor who just got kicked out of his church for attending basically a biblical cosmology conference. Nathan Thompson was down there. Nathan Roberts was down there. Who else? We had so many good guys, and I apologize for forgetting anybody. Rick Hummer teleconferenced in. It was a great conference. I had a really great time getting to hang out with everybody, and it couldn't have gone better.
You did a fantastic presentation, which we're going to talk about in a moment. But for those of you that don't know, Skyfall is essentially a flat Earth biblical conference. Is that the best way to describe it?
Yeah, it was biblical cosmology and biblical prophecy is what it was. So talked about what the Bible talks about as far as the shape of the earth, and also for kind of some end times things to come.
This is not to be confused with the Flat Earth Conference coming up in Denver, which is not biblical based, although there will be some biblical information for part of the time. But this Skyfall was specific biblical flat Earth cosmology.
Right. So if that is your mindset, if that is the material and information you're out there looking for, just go on YouTube, type in Skyfall 2018, and a ton of great stuff will come up.
And I have to point out, that is not the information I'm looking for, but it was a fascinating conference. It was great to listen to. I don't agree with everything that was said, but it's fascinating. Really, really good stuff. And your day one presentation, mind-blowing. We'll link that in the description.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Yeah, and as Dave says, Dave doesn't use the Bible or religion to prove the flat earth. He comes more from a zetetic mindset, but it is super interesting that so much of it is backed up with the words of the Bible when you read them literally. Very interesting stuff.
I actually go out of my way to make sure I don't use anything biblical in my videos. A recent video I did, I actually had to really work hard not to bring up God or the Creator in my text.
Which I totally get, because this whole thing, I feel, is them trying to hide our Creator, don't you?
Right, and I'm not trying to hide our Creator, because, as I said in the past, when people say, what does it matter, and you get into that whole thing, I say that what it matters is that we live in an intelligently designed world, which means that it was intelligently designed, and there is a Creator, and that's as far as I go. I don't go any farther. You basically start 10 steps above that,
right?
and go, which is great. I love the balance, but again, we come from opposite sides of the flat Earth.
We really do. So people that say that this is a biblical flat Earth podcast, I think, is probably inaccurate. I think we
couldn't be any farther from the truth.
Right. I think we cover both sides pretty well.
Absolutely.
Do you want to talk about the ... story?
Oh yeah. So sure. So Matt did this presentation, which was again, you have to see it. The day one, day two was all. Oh, this was the day two presentation. So after his day one presentation, Paige and I really enjoyed it. And then the next day, he was going on. Paige was on her way home, so I paused it. And I said, okay, I'm going to make a video while I wait for Paige, and we'll watch Matt together. So I worked on my video. Paige gets home, and upload the video, and we start watching Matt. And we're playing it on the Apple TV. It's really good. And 10 minutes after I upload my video, as normal, somebody comments, you got a typo. You left the H off of whether or not. And I'm like, damn. And so I have to take it down, fix it, re-render it, and upload it again. So I upload it again. You're still playing on the TV. And Paige says, hey, maybe you should add ... to the end of that sentence, because it was an open-ended sentence where the next frame answered it. And I'm like, nah, it's already uploaded. I haven't hit publish yet. And she says, she kind of looks up at the sky and she goes, maybe we should ask the universe if you should add ... And you look at the screen, at the camera, and go, Rob Skiba, ... and pause. Now, who the heck says ... So we look at each other and we're like, what? And so if I had started you 2 seconds earlier or 2 seconds later, it wouldn't have worked. The timing was impeccable. So
Right.
So 30 seconds goes by or whatever amount of time, and she goes, and you had told the story where you felt the hand of God on your shoulder, and then a short time after that, you were like asking for another sign, and a school bell went off or something.
That's correct. Yeah.
And so she goes, well, Matt said ask for a second sign, and she looks up, she goes, can you give us a second sign? And you look at the camera again, and you go ... Okay, first, who the heck says ... out loud? I mean, and let alone twice. The timing was unbelievable. So I had to re-render the video, put the ... in it, and actually it made the video. It was one of the best parts of the video.
Wow. That is truly amazing.
Yeah.
Truly amazing.
So that was if you really listen to the world around you, it's full of signs and messages, and wherever you think those messages are coming from, that's your own decision. But it is the way our world works.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, so day one I did the good versus evil mindset, the proper mindset when pursuing truth in this world. Day two I did basically my testimony, going all the way back to middle school, through the flat earth revelation and all that good stuff. And I mentioned kind of the pastor who had missed the gorilla. Really great story if you go watch that. And then this notion that what they're doing is they're taking God's creation and diluting it. And the way you dilute something is you pour it into something bigger, like infinite space, and you convince people that they're just statistical probabilities of an ever-expanding, potentially infinite universe. So
it was such a good message, such a good analogy there. I really like that.
Awesome, thanks. And you say we've got it on the Flat Earth Podcast website?
It is on the Flat Earth Podcast website, on the Facebook page. I'll link it in the show notes here. And it's really worth the watch. It's about 40 minutes, right?
Yeah, about 40 minutes. That's correct.
Right. And then you also pointed out that people don't like to think about the fact that something that works perfectly on the ball can also work on a flat Earth. They just kind of refuse to look at that. Was that in your? Yeah,
that was in there. Basically, what I said is like there's a difference between causation and correlation, and if we can make the math and the phenomena work on both a ball and a flat plane, okay, if it correlates to both, yet we cannot find curvature, what conclusion are we left to make, and why is that a hard decision, right? I talk about when the clock strikes noon, I go eat lunch. Well, the clock didn't make me go eat lunch, and we can disprove that if just one time I go eat lunch at a different time or I go eat lunch without a clock in the room, right? So with the spinning heliocentric model, if there's just one thing wrong with it, then all we're talking about is correlation and not causation. So these things like sunset, sunrise, circumnavigation, not falling off the edge that people think are caused by them living on a ball, they just correlate to them living on a ball. And if we can't measure a ball, i.e. the Chicago skyline or the mountains of Kanagawa, if we're seeing things that should be hidden by the horizon, then we need to start over.
Now,
right?
there's many weather conditions and days where you cannot see the Chicago skylines, and the ball believers will be like, well, where's the ball? But if you can see it one day on a super clear day, that breaks the chain, and
That's it.
And it's not a ball anymore.
You're exactly right. Well, speaking of ballers, I'm sure we have a lot of ballers out there that celebrate Halloween. And so let's talk about some flat smacking outreach opportunities for ballers coming around to your house on Halloween. What do you think, Dave?
Absolutely. You can. I used to try to give out like healthy treats and stuff, but kids want candy. So I say give them candy with a message. My number one idea is just get some Avery labels. Go to your local stationery store, Staples, whatever. You get these Avery labels. You make a little flat Earth message on it. Print them out on your computer, 50 at a time, and stick them on all the candy bars. What do you think about that?
I think it's a great idea.
Do you have any?
I saw a meme you sent me with the thumb drives that looked like candy bars.
Yeah, they're mini candy bars, and when you could pull off the one side, and it was actually a thumb drive, and it said it was filled with a terabyte of government conspiracy videos. That is so fun. I would like to order some and hand them out. It would be amazing.
Or maybe you could have someone have to listen to a 5-minute presentation in order to get their candy.
That's brutal.
Right.
That's a good idea, though. You'd have to hand out like the 1 pound Hershey bar, candy bars. Like, here, you can have a little candy, or you can listen to a 3-minute presentation and get the 1 pounder.
How about, I like that. A 3-minute presentation. The 1 pounder. How about doing a haunted house? Because I can think of something really scary. Okay. What you do is you bring people into your house and you make them feel like they're spinning 1,000 miles an hour through space. I feel like that would be really scary.
How do you do that?
I don't know. I've never felt it before, so I'm not really sure what it would feel like.
You give them some red
projection,
hen, some red Hennessy.
Some red hen, and then maybe a projection screen, looking out the window, space flying by, no hope, something like that.
Yeah,
that would be really scary.
You could also just put some flat Earth signs on your house as the kids come up to trick or treat. Did you know the Earth is flat? Did you ever question it? You're not spinning. Just whatever, just a couple of messages, a couple of signs on the lawn, because it'll plant messages in their minds.
I think that'd be a great idea. I think you told me you were flat smacking at the farmer's market again. Is that right?
I told the story where this one woman, we brought it up. She had her 12-year-old. She said that she didn't believe that the Earth was flat because she's been indoctrinated her whole life, and she's just going to go with that. And then the next week, her 12-year-old daughter said, "Hey, Mom, have you ever heard that the Earth might be flat?" So now she's looking into it. So this past week when I went, it was a rainy farmer's market day, and standing under her tent were 2 older gentlemen, and she sees me coming up, and she goes, "Hey, flat Earth." Right? Just because this is awkward, awkward. And I have my big flat map shirt, Flat Earth Podcast shirt on with the big Flat Earth map on it. Available on Amazon, by the way, Flat Earth Podcast.
Was that the hoodie? Was that
the hoodie? Yeah, it's hoodie
season.
It is hoodie season. And the 2 men, they didn't know what to do, so they both go, ha 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 ha, just like a laugh, like they don't get it, but okay, they don't want to feel stupid. And then they're standing there buying their eggs. And all of a sudden, they're looking at my shirt, and he goes, "Well, wait a minute. What is this?" And I go, I'm very standoffish, and I just kind of showed them my shirt, and I go, "Well, this is where you live." And I was going to leave it at that, And so they're like, "What do you mean this is where I live?" I go, "This is where you live. You don't live on a spinning ball. You're not moving." And they're like, "Are you serious?" So now we're getting into it. We're going into it, and I'm talking to the one guy, and another guy is listening intently. And the other guy finally chimes in, and he goes, "That's all interesting, except when you use some logic." He goes, "My daughter had brought up flat Earth to me, and I told her, honey, you may think it's flat because it's so big, but when you use your logic and you see that ships go over the horizon as they go away," and I'm just like, wow.
Here we go.
Yeah, here we go. So I said to him, and I was very, very calm. I said, if I showed you something that proves that you're brainwashed into believing that, would you accept it? And he goes, "Well, what do you mean?" And I got into the whole thing, how you can watch a ship go over the horizon, and then you can zoom into it with your P900 or P1000, and it comes back. I go, and it comes back. I go, after it's completely disappeared. He goes, "In all its glory?" I go, "Top to bottom." And he goes, "That's interesting." I was like, "All right, that's a good response."
That is a good response.
Yeah, so we went into it for about another 5 minutes. That's a long time when you weren't planning on having a flat Earth conversation. And right. I quickly ran to my car because I forgot to stick them in my pocket, but I had some trifolds. I had my ODD 21 question cards, and I said, take the time, and I gave them the analogy of believing something is easy because it frees up your whole day. Knowing the truth takes time and effort and critical thought. Here's the information you need. Watch this video. And they said, okay, we'll do it. So we'll see what happens.
Nicely done. Yeah, I had the opportunity to sit down with some folks while I was up in Canada, and we basically just sat down, and I had some people say, all right, Matt, tell them about flat Earth. But I really think the best way to go about it when you get in those situations is ask someone why they don't believe in the flat Earth. Then you can address their concerns. But to try and just throw up, a 5-minute spiel and not have someone poke holes in it is pretty tough.
That's a great way to put it. Why don't you believe in the flat Earth, or the opposite of that? What makes you believe you live on a spinning ball?
Right.
Just recently, as of this recording, 2-3 days ago, Spyman Dan, Cyman Dan, do you know who he is?
I do not.
Cyman Dan is this pompous prick, if I must say so, kid who's definitely a shill for somebody. I don't know who's financing him. He's got a pretty big following, close to 100,000 followers, and he basically just tears apart flat Earth videos in the most ridiculous, unscientific ways. Morgile has torn him apart. I think Jaron has torn him apart, and he went after my "The Earth is not spinning" video and broke it down. I woke up in the morning and I had 7,700 comments.
Wow.
Yeah, and all just mind controlled. I don't know if some of them are bots or if there's that many people. It's that are just mind controlled by him. So I bit, and I went on his video, and I commented, and I was like, can you please supply me just one proof, one? And then somebody gave me a whole tirade, and I actually responded to all of them with links and everything. Nobody watched any of them, and I'm like, just one. And every comment back was, I'm not going to give you one, because no matter what I give you, you're going to say it's not real.
Right.
I'm like, that's your best proof? Just one. And the thing is, don't ever be afraid to ask somebody for just one proof that you live on a spinning ball. I said spinning water ball flying through infinite space. And I said, I'll make it simple, just a ball. Don't ever be afraid to ask somebody for that one proof, because there are none. You'll never get one. You'll never get one. You'll get an insult. You'll get an excuse. You'll get whatever. And just stick to it. Just say, now just one. I said just one, and I'll delete my channel and drink bleach. and their response was, the only reason you're doing this is for clicks. And I'm like, I'm not even on my video. I'm on your video. And my channel's not even monetized. So I don't know what you're talking about, but they will never come back with one single proof. So it's really empowering when you ask somebody to do that.
It's fear, Dave. They don't want to get into it.
Well, they can't, so they don't, because there's no hope. There's none. There's none. Throw money, and if it's somebody that money will motivate them, say, I'll give you $100 if you can give me one proof. Don't be afraid. You're not going to lose $100.
Right. Absolutely.
And if they hit you with a question that you don't know the answer to, just come and ask one of us, and we'll give you the answer, because it's really simple. And anybody that knows the Earth is flat can answer anything that they say. If they come back with photos, that's easy. You just show them all the NASA photos and go, look, one's fake, they're all fake.
They shouldn't fake anything, right? If they're real.
Yeah, if they're in space, they wouldn't be hanging on harnesses. Did you see the ISS video that came out the other day with one of the foreign astronauts was showing something in the bathroom, and he grabbed a screw and he dropped it and it fell?
Yeah, I saw Paul on the Plane did a good one of that.
Yeah, it's another micro pocket of gravity, I guess.
Yeah, like the card that falls next to the hammer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I had a pretty big response to the sunrise video I put out when I was on my way from Atlanta to Toronto. I filmed the sunrise. I specifically picked the window seat knowing I was going to be up there during a sunrise. Had my P900 with me and caught what looked like the sun rising out of the clouds in front of the horizon. Did you see that?
I did. It was one of the, I'd say one of the best videos of the sun in the clouds. Now, there's many flat earthers, ball earthers that'll say the sun is never in the clouds. It's an optical illusion. I don't believe that. I do believe, though, where you saw the sun in the clouds, if another plane was over there, that you would actually see the plane look like it's going into the sun, but the people on that plane would see the sun equally as far from them as you do.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah. So the sun is relative to our own positions.
Totally agree with that. And if you check out my video, I believe it's the last video I have on YouTube. It just says 100% proof local sun. You'll see what we're talking about there. And the notion that the sun is merely a focal point of light from another light source beyond the firmament.
Agreed.
And I should probably mention Brian Austin Lambert so he doesn't leave me another flamingly angry comment about not giving him credit for that, though I don't. I did give him credit in the description, so
yeah, I did notice that you threw that there. Matt and I are fascinated with this guy, but
yeah,
enough said there.
I've never seen someone so annoyed to make videos before in my life.
Yeah.
And he's really, like, I've tried to be nice to him. He's really hard to be nice to because he doesn't seem to like anybody.
I know. Well, he doesn't have time because the end of the world is here and the rapture is here.
Right. That seems to be a common theme with people that have never met any of the other people in the community. They are very paranoid and they seem to not like anybody. So I hope he comes around.
Very good. What's next?
Well, we're talking about light outside the firmament. Let's talk about you had a theory about the firmament and how it could literally just be water, similar to a bubble in a boiling pot. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I was as just like when you're selecting a seat on an airplane, you're like, all right, where's the sun rising? What direction am I flying? Where's the wing? You're picking, flat earthers pick their seats very carefully based on where the sun or moon or whatever they want to see is. I'm making a pot of tea, staring into the pot, looking at the bubbles going, hey, wait a minute, that's separating the waters from the waters.
Right.
and so I have the earth is filled with electricity, as Tesla has proved, and the pot that I was heating the water up in is electric, and it's creating this bubble which is lifting up the water. And if you think about it, there's really no hard barrier there. So if you were a microscopic little bug in that bubble, the water, you're in this whole pressurized atmosphere with waters above. And some people go, how could waters be above? They'd come crashing down. Well, they do come crashing down when we have low pressure systems.
And how many thousands of years do you think that bug would stay in that bubble before it determined it was on a spinning ball flying through space?
I don't know. A long time. So the pressure in our world could be what's holding up the waters above.
Yeah,
and again, as I pointed out before, when you have a hurricane, it's a super, super low pressure system, and that could be allowing the water to come in. I never understood how that much water could be floating in a gaseous state in the clouds.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying that clouds are not water vapor, but I'm saying there's more water involved than the water just in those clouds.
Yeah, I agree with that. Totally agree. Well, we're talking about above the firmament. Let's go below here. We talked a little bit about how what was the name of that hole that they dug in Russia that went,
the mole hole?
Yeah, right. How far down did they go?
Yeah, so I think America was doing it, and then they handed it off to Russia, and the deepest they got was I think just short of 8 miles, or right around 8 miles.
I believe that's the case.
And there's some crazy stories about that. There's Free Your Mind played a video where they said when they got down that deep, they hit an impenetrable barrier. That's kind of common knowledge. We have to take that for on what it's worth. But they said that they heard some recording, not a recording. There's a recording of. It sounded literally like screaming people in hell.
Yes, I've heard that.
Now, we don't know where that came from. If it's true, it could be a hoax. And if you want to say it's a hoax, that's the paradigm that you can live in. But it is fascinating. to consider what could be going on down there.
Yeah, totally agree. Especially, I think the heat was rising, as well as they got to a point where they couldn't get any further, and then we're hearing screams that it sounds like a place I've read about before.
Yeah, so yeah, from your world, hell is below and the heavens above. Well, hell looks like to be a very hot, dense place if you look in the mole hole, and when you go up higher, where many people say that would be heaven, even biblical or not, it is a lighter, higher vibrating place.
Yeah, which is interesting. Even separate it from like the biblical mindset. I mean, everybody, even a little kid, like if you ask them where's heaven, they would point up, and where's hell, they would point down.
Right. There's a movie called 8 Mile. Not
Right.
the Eminem movie.
Not Eminem?
No, it's called what the heck is the name of it? 9 Miles Down, Deliver Us from Evil.
Wow.
Again, that came from the Feed Your Mind channel. I love his channel. If anyone wants to follow his stuff, he does some great work. 9 Miles Down, Deliver Us from Evil. Very interesting symbology there. I'd like somebody to check it out and break it down a little further. It's on my list of research movies to watch.
How you probably have an extensive list.
It is. I don't have time to watch a 3-minute video.
Right. We've talked a little bit about Skyfall and the biblical prophecy, and I know one thing about it is that it always says that no man will know the day or the time or the hour.
Yeah, I have a theory on that.
Go for it.
And the theory is, our thoughts create our reality. And for those of you that don't believe that, you just haven't gotten there yet. So, a lot of people will be, hey, from your side of the biblical fence, be like, I believe in Jesus. I prayed to Jesus, and Jesus answered my prayers. Somebody on the other side of the fence will be like, I'm in alignment. I feel good. I prayed. Maybe not to Jesus, just prayed, and my prayers were answered. I believe that our world is controlled by our thoughts, and the elite are trying to control our thoughts by keeping us in a low vibration of fear, which limits our power. Where was the question now? I just got off track.
Question relates to no man will know the day or time, but just to back you up on thoughts creating reality, if you convince people that they live on a spinning ball, their reality is that they live on a spinning ball, right?
Right, and they're lost, and they'll never know where they are, who they are, or anything.
Right, so no man shall know the day or time.
No man shall know the day or time. I believe that if somebody figures it out and announces it publicly, the day or time changes, and there's no way to disprove that as right or wrong. That if we figure it out, it shifts. It changes the reality to no man knows the day or the time.
I would agree with that, but then I would also apply that kind of to some of the elites. If they're planting a false flag and someone outs it on social media, I think
they change it. No,
right, exactly.
No man knows the day or time.
Right, exactly.
And I believe they have, whether it's AI or humans that are monitoring all the internet chatter, they're doing their drill. And they're like, hey, nobody's caught on yet. Boom, take it live.
Right.
And if people have caught on, they did a drill. And then they do it another day. And again, there's no real way to prove that right or wrong.
Sure, absolutely. So in 1984, the book, it talks about how they have created a dual cosmology for the purpose of control, and that they can control matter because they control the mind, that reality is in the skull.
Totally agree. Our world is nothing physically or mentally like they tell us. That, they tell us if you can't pick it up and touch it, it doesn't exist. Well, I don't believe that anymore.
Totally agree. Well, speaking of propaganda, let's talk about the final junkyard, space.
Oh, my God. I was watching, I believe it was D. Marble's breakdown of the lying deceivers on the Discovery Channel, where they faked the curvature of that lake. And when I watch on my Apple TV, I have autoplay on. And the next thing that came up was a video called, what was the name? Space, the Final Junkyard.
Yeah, Space, the Final Junkyard.
It was, the propaganda was unbelievable. They claim that there's all these tiny debris up there. They're the size of a nut, but those are the things that we're seeing from down here on Earth, which is just nonsense. When you learn about angular resolution limits of your eye and light and everything, they say some of them sparkle. Those are the dead satellites that are tumbling, because when a satellite dies, Matt, you know that it starts tumbling.
Awesome. I did not know that.
Well,
it just out of nowhere, it starts tumbling.
It starts tumbling, reflecting the sun. The other thing is, my favorite thing to do when I'm down in the Caribbean is look up at the sky at night and watch satellites. It was my favorite thing to do until I became a flat earther. But if you think about it, if you're doing that at midnight, there's no chance that the sun could be lighting those satellites up, because it's in the relative to the size of the Earth and the height of that satellite, it's right above the Earth. And the Earth would be blocking the sunlight.
Right.
It's just nonsense. And I also think that they showed in this what happens when a tiny little nut, a little fleck, hits a piece of like 1-inch thick aluminum. And basically it's like a high-powered bullet going into it. And they're showing all of this. Now, that may be real. Sure, if something 17,000 miles an hour went into a piece of aluminum, it would do that. But that doesn't mean that's really happening. That doesn't mean that's really happening. That's the thing. I think that they're pre-programming us for a catastrophic disaster on the ISS. We had that micrometeor that made a little hole in it. Now this thing is auto-playing for people. And so now we had the supply rocket that was supposed to go up to the ISS, and they can't go, so now there's guys stranded up there. What if a meteor, a piece of space junk hit the ISS, tore it to pieces, send it, hurtling, tumbling, and now we can't get to it? We would never be able to verify that, and that could be their story. I think they're getting, in my opinion, I think they're coming to the end of the ISS, and they're going to have something like that happen. What do you think?
I think that's probably correct. I think that probably was going to happen until you talked about it just now.
Oh, there you go again. So now they have to keep faking it. Great.
Now they're going to take.
I
would
would
make
miss.
a hotel.
I would miss the ISS videos if it died. I'd be really upset. We'll go now. Now what are we going to watch from NASA?
Should we start a Save the ISS campaign?
I don't know, but I may have just saved it by this story, so that's fantastic.
I think you did. I think you answered a lot of Muslims' prayers, if you will, as I segue into this next topic, because Muslims pray towards Mecca. Is that correct?
Three
Dave?
times a day they're required to pray. I was actually driving down the highway. This is many years ago, and I saw this family of Muslims literally pull over like a quarter mile before my exit and get out their rugs and pray on the side of the highway. And I looked into what they were doing, and they were praying to Mecca.
Wow. Now, tell me this, Dave. If I'm a Muslim and I'm praying east towards Mecca.
Where are you? Are you in Australia?
Let's say I'm in Fort Worth, Texas.
Okay.
If I pray on a spinning ball, I am actually facing into outer space. Is that correct?
Your prayers don't refract around the curve?
Oh, you know what? Maybe they do bounce off the atmosphere.
Maybe they have refracting prayers. Somebody, I got a message from a Muslim flat earther that talked about it, that the Quran is a flat earth book, and by the fact that they have to pray towards Mecca would not work on a ball. They'd be praying into outer space the farther they are from Mecca.
Absolutely. And we're not making fun of Muslims praying. We're simply saying that it does not work on a spinning ball. And since the Quran is a flat earth book, that they actually can pray to the right direction.
Absolutely. So
very cool.
Fascinating when you think. It's just fascinating when you think. Most people don't think.
That's correct. Well, we talked about hoodie season, right? We are also coming up on flu season, Dave. What do you think about this?
I think that there is no such thing as flu season until people start getting the flu shots. Then the people that got the flu shots will start getting the flu themselves or shedding that virus to people that didn't get the flu shot, and that's where 99.99% of what they call the flu comes from.
Totally agree. I was watching the news, which was probably my first mistake. Last year during flu season, there were about 10 people that died in California, and 9 of them had gotten the flu vaccine.
And the other one got it but didn't admit it.
Probably.
Probably. Hey, I'll call out to doctors on the East Coast here or anywhere that are willing to say they gave you vaccinations, mark it on your chart, and not really give them to you. If anyone's out there that's willing to do that, please private message me, because I have a bunch of clients for you.
Thousands, probably.
Yeah.
Did we touch on why things disappear from the bottom up when you were talking about the flat smack you did at the farmer's market?
The reason things disappear from the bottom up is because when we're on the ground looking forward, we're hitting the maximum distance we can see through the thickest part of the atmosphere. And that's when things just become sky. Anything beyond that, you can't see, because you can't see through that density. Now, at ground level, you're standing there 6 feet tall or whatever. Let's say that line is, just for a number, 10 miles away. If you were up 10 feet higher, maybe you could see, 10 miles? 12 miles away. And you go up a little higher, the higher you go, the farther you can see. So that line of obfuscation is a slanted slope that goes up and away. And as things move into that, they disappear from the bottom up. Does that make sense? You follow that?
It does make sense.
Yeah, so there's sliding into this sloped line of obfuscation. Now, because it's so far away, that line is compressed due to perspective, and it merges with your apparent horizon, so you really can't see it. A good way to think about that is you have some patchy, fluffy clouds above your head. They're 10, 20,000 feet above your head. But if you look 30 miles into the distance, those clouds are touching the horizon, but they're still 30,000 feet over your head. That sloped line of obfuscation slopes up to those distant clouds, and all of that is compressed into what you call the horizon. And the thing to remember is, when you watch the sun is a celestial object. So it is above that line of obfuscation, and that line of opacity is the most important thing to remember, is it's above your eye level. A simple experiment to do, and we've witnessed this every day, everywhere. If you're at a gathering of people, a concert, or just even on the street, you have in the distance you have a car. Maybe there's a car parked that's 10, 20, 30, 40 feet from you or whatever. And the top of the car is just about your eye level, maybe slightly above your eye level, but you can see beyond it. And somebody's standing right next to that car on the far side, and you can see them from the chest up or whatever. As they walk away, that car is remaining, its angular size is remaining, but theirs is reducing. And it's going to just get eclipsed by that car. They're going to disappear from the bottom up as they walk away very quickly, and it's going to look like they're dropping down. Your brain's going to say, oh, no, that person's walking away. You're going to understand it. But when we're looking at something celestial like the sun or the moon, you don't know whether it's going away or going down, and you're brainwashed to believe it's going down.
That's correct. Totally
that makes
agree.
sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. And the vertical deck of obfuscation, as you say, continues up into the distance, correct? Which is why it would appear that the sun, because the sun is already so high away, that deck, that horizon is actually going to be much higher than where you are standing elevation-wise.
Absolutely. The higher you are, the farther you can see. And that's why when you have a very high shot of the sun, it does get smaller. It does. The other argument is that the sun processes 15 degrees per hour, but in reality, when it gets down to that last few degrees, it stops going down. The problem is from a terrestrial point of view, it already gets eclipsed by that atmospheric obfuscation or a geographical mountain or something that is blocking it. Anything that's above your eye line in the distance will eclipse the sun. So you can't see it moving away for that last bit.
Correct.
There you go.
Except for your drone videos.
My drone video, I caught it a few times, and the biggest fight, people are like, that's fake. I could see the blur, the Photoshop, and I don't have time for that. Banned for life.
Yeah, Dave's not that talented. Yeah, banned for life.
Banned for life.
Wow. So we had kind of a strange message come in from one of our friends, and you asked if you were allowed to play it, and he did not respond, which we usually take as a yes.
That's
right?
a yes. That's kind of like you don't say no to chemtrails, therefore you're saying yes.
That's right.
This is
Iru Landucci.
Iru Landucci, for those of you that don't know, he is one of the Globebusters, a very talented flat earther down in South America. South America, right?
Yes.
And I had
Argentina, I believe.
Argentina, and I reached to him to get some. I wanted to see if he could do some 3D animation for me. He's very talented on the computer, and because of his broken English, he likes to leave voice messages via Skype. So here's a message I got from Eero, and I'll play it for you guys because it's a little strange. Here it is.
Okay, let me see. And about your applications, if you can give me to the next week, I'm taking a shower. That is the noise. So because I am ending work for Wednesday of the next week. So after that, if you want, we can talk about it.
And there you go.
Hey, was that a video message or an audio message?
Unfortunately, in my head, it's a video message. It was an audio message, but it will never be erased from my brain.
It's burned in.
It's burned in, and now I don't know what to do. I would expect nothing less from Mitchell, but it came from Iru. Maybe something with being in the outer southern lands makes you a little off.
I cannot believe we have another Mitchell on our hands.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, it's really raining down there. And then he's like, and I'm like, boy, his voice sounds good. It's like, I'm in the shower.
It didn't sound like he had his headset on.
I don't understand how and why he left me a message from the shower. So I'm trying to erase it from my memory, but it's just not working. I've been having dreams about it. It's just not good.
Well, unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about the past, right, Dave? There's only 2 days where nothing can be done. And what are those 2 days?
Those 2 days are yesterday and tomorrow. So take advantage of today. It's the only day that you can do anything.
It's the only day that exists.
Right. All right. So want to get to anything else? You want to get to a couple speak pipes? Did we miss anything?
I think we've gotten through a pretty good list of things to talk about. I think it is definitely time to do some speak pipes. I assume we've got a pretty good backlog of them.
We got not too many, so let's do some of them.
That just means nobody's listening.
That's all right. Do we want to talk about the conference real quick? That's coming up, and how far away?
Let's talk about the conference. We're coming up on Flat Earth International Conference in Denver, coming up in November. And it's going to be incredible. What do you want to talk about the conference, Dave?
I will make a little announcement of somebody who I am dying to meet who is coming. You want to take a guess?
Michael Jordan. Larry Bird.
Very close. Marty Leeds.
Ooh,
the creator of many things, including Flat Earth: The Litmus Test. One of the greatest documentary videos, I'll call it. So Marty Leeds is coming, and he'll be working with us in registration, as a matter of fact.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Yeah. So come on down and say hello.
As you know, registration's my favorite part because we get to meet everybody.
And if I get this out today or tomorrow, the billboard is going up on Monday, the 22nd of October. So the billboard will be up in Denver.
Awesome.
And it should start causing some buzz.
Awesome. And any information on the conference you can get at fe2018.com. There's going to be tons of activism, right, Dave?
Lots of activism people there, and I'm looking forward to joining them and honing my group street activism skills.
Awesome. And let's talk a little bit about how people just need to get out there and make it happen. If they want something done, they need to make it happen. Let's talk a little bit about how there are no leaders to this movement, Dave.
Yeah, a lot of people say, the flat earth leaders, the big channels. No, there's just the big mouths, like you and I. We have big mouths. I'm now doing, I'm Jaron's co-host on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern for Jaronism Raw on Truth Frequency Radio.
Awesome.
And again, nobody's telling me what to do, and I'm not telling anyone else what to do. I just do it on my own. You're the same way, and no matter how big or small your channel is, whether you have a channel or not, what are you going to do today to help wake up your family and friends? I mean, do you like being surrounded by people that have no idea where they are, that think they're on a spinning ball flying through infinite space? It's time for the world to wake up. The world is waking up. Did you see CBS Good Morning show, the big Sunday show last week?
I did not.
CBS Good Morning, it's literally like the 60 Minutes of Sunday morning, did a huge piece on Flat Earth. Yes, they tried to ridicule us, and they featured Mad Mike Hughes and all sorts of stuff, but Patricia did a great job on it, and it brought Flat Earth to a lot of people. And that's how Marty Leeds decided to come to the conference, because he saw that people started contacting him, and he's like, why aren't I going to this? And now he's coming.
Awesome. I did see Patricia's clip on her channel. That she did a great job.
Yeah.
She always carries herself so well.
And again, we just need to if everybody started talking to everybody, this would be over sooner than later. And what I mean by over is the elite would realize that Flat Earth is out of control, and they're going to shut us down.
And then
shut the whole world down.
Something would get pushed off a little bit further.
Yeah. Hey, one question before we go to Speak Pipes, and before, while you guys are typing in fe2018.com and buying your tickets before they run out,
and typing in FE podcast as the promo code
to get your 10% off. Did you know the Economist cover, how every year they have the predictive cover of what's going to happen in the future?
Yes.
So in 1987, they had one that said 2018 is the end of currency and the beginning of digital cryptocurrency.
Right.
That was before anybody knew what the internet was. So
right.
that's predictive. And we've seen the Trump sitting on top of the world and all of this stuff, predictive stuff. Have you seen the 2019 year-end cover?
Does it have the Flat Earth Podcast logo on it?
It does. It's just the Flat Earth Podcast logo.
Wow.
Actually, it's a black cover. Jet black. That's it.
Wow.
Creepy.
Oh, man.
Yeah, look that up. Jet black, what does that mean? Does that mean that the Rothschilds are leaving and that they have nothing to do with our world? Or does that mean that blackout, something's going to happen? I'm sure if we asked Mr. Brian Austin Lambert, he'd have an opinion on what that means, but
I know he would.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't come on to talk about it.
No, he won't.
So
okay, so we'll be right back, and we'll hit some speak pipes, and we'll be there. Thanks.
Sounds good.
All right.
Hey, what's going on, people? Flat Earth Man in the house. I want to talk to you about the Flat Earth International Conference. But before I do, let me tell you that all you're watching is a puppet show. Yeah, the whole world's a stage. Astronauts, they're just actors, of course, and yeah, they all get paid. Look at me, I'm floating in space. No, you're not. You're lying to the whole human race. All you're watching is a puppet show, yeah. Hey, what's going on, people? Flat Earth Man in the house.
Hey, what's going on, people? Conspiracy Music Guru right here with DITRH on the Flat Earth Podcast and preparing for the Flat Earth International Conference on the 15th and 16th of November in Denver, Colorado. Very much looking forward to it. Got a couple of songs to showcase. I'm going to be playing live as well, flying all the way from Spain, and I cannot wait. It is going to be the most amazing thing you've ever been to if you want to understand a little bit more about this reality. If you're flat curious, or if you are well-versed in the flat earth conspiracy, then we can't wait to see you. It's going to be one hell of a conference.
If you're a full-on flat earther or just discovering flat earth and not sure, don't miss this conference. There'll be 1,000 people that think alike that you can talk to. You'll learn amazing new things about flat earth. If you're new, you'll meet amazing people. You'll make lifelong friends. I wouldn't miss it for the world. If somebody said to me, hey, we'll give you an all-expense-paid trip to the Caribbean, which is my favorite place to go, or you can pay your own way to the Flat Earth Conference, I would give up the Caribbean and go to this conference. You can find it at fe2018.com or just go to theflatearthpodcast.com and there's a link right there on the top of the page.
Following announcement has been paid for by
the Flat Earth
Podcast.
You want to leave a digital voicemail for us? Head over to theflatearthpodcast.com and click on the blue link that reads, "Got a question? Send us a message."
You can do it from your iPhone or from your computer. First time you do it on your cellular phone, you'll have to download a little app. But after that, you can leave us all kinds of messages. If you want to be anonymous, you can make up a name, make up an email address. We don't care. We just want to hear what you have to say.
We'll do our best to play or answer these questions and comments on future episodes right here on the Flat Earth Podcast. Download the SpeakPipe app and check us out at theflatearthpodcast.com.
The Flat Earth Podcast.
If you're watching this audio on YouTube right now and you're not familiar with the world of podcasting, there's a far better way to listen to the Flat Earth Podcast each and every week.
Think of it like your TiVo or your DVR is to your television. You subscribe to whatever show that you like. Whenever a new episode comes out, it records it, downloads it, and notifies you that there's a new episode for easy listening anywhere. Another great feature on most podcast players is you could speed up if you want to hear stuff even faster, or more importantly, it has a jump back and jump forward 30 seconds so you could skip annoying announcements like this.
We're on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and so many more. If we're not on your favorite podcast app, send us a message and let us know to make sure we will be.
The Flat Earth Podcast.
Donald J. Trump here with tremendous news for everybody. This is so good. You know, I love listening to you guys. We got the Air Force, we got the Space Force, and now I'm announcing, I was just joking, and we said, what a great idea. We're gonna have the Flat Earth Force. Flat Earth Force, this is so important. Tremendous stuff for all mankind. And Dave, I want you're gonna be heading up the Department of Domeland Security, gonna do such a good job. Matt, too, you're going to be there as well. Melania keeps asking, where's Jay? She loves his voice, you know. I say, honey, it's okay. Jay's gone to China. He's in China right now. But he'll be back soon, I'm sure. The Flat Earth Podcast, making America flat again.
What's up, guys? Curious Jay here with a quick speak pipe. Wanted to drop in, let you know that I am alive and doing fine, but so enjoying the podcast lately. You guys are killing it. Real quick, you know, I caught a meme the other day that someone posted that had to do with an article that Popular Mechanics posted on September 25th, 2018, this year, how the title, I believe, was that humans are now causing the Earth to wobble on its axis, according to NASA. Yes, we're actually causing the Earth to wobble now. And, you know, the person who made the meme included a picture of a sundial and said, but yet sundials keep perfect time. So the point they were trying to make is that if Earth is moving around in any path or any wobble that it's not normally on, then yes, a sundial would read a different time. You can't move the Earth or move the sun and still get the same exact time on a sundial. They've been working for like thousands of years. Hello. The other thing I want to bring up when it comes to a sundial that I don't know if anyone's brought up is the fact that during the solar eclipse, and yes, that's my trigger, but the solar eclipse, let's go back to that for a second. When you look up the diagram for solar eclipse, science will tell you that when the moon blocks the sun is now coming around the moon, and the rays, instead of hitting us parallel like they always do, they're now angled in towards the earth. Well, if you change the angle of the sun's rays during a solar eclipse, like they claim that, that is the case, then a sundial would read a completely different time during a solar eclipse. And I don't believe that's happening. That is completely not the case. All right, guys, keep up the good work. Just want to say hey and give you guys some something to chew on and discuss. All right, peace.
The whole world's a stage and you're in the audience, and everything you see on the stage is fraudulent. Hey, what's going on, people? Flat Earth Man in the house. And you're listening to the Flat Earth Podcast. Stay flat, y'all.
All right, we're back. We're going to do some speak pipes here. Dave, let's start rolling them.
Right. Here we go. Our first one is from Cody.
Hey guys, my name's Cody. I'm from Louisiana. I love the show. I listen to it basically every day. I've been a flat earther for about 3 months. I was a Glober for about 22 years, so that just goes to show something. I know everything science has to say, so every time someone tells me, just go check out what science has to say, I'm like, look, I've known it for 22 years. I looked into this for 2 months, and it's definitely real. But my question for you is, how come if all the pictures and videos from Earth show a perfect sphere as the Earth, but yet online it's classified as an oblate spheroid, then can we either get some real pictures of the oblate spheroid, or why do we still have it classified as that when allegedly it's a sphere? Anyways, love to hear back from y'all. Keep up the good work, and thanks for everything.
Yeah, I totally agree, Cody. I think we've all heard Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about it being an oblate spheroid, yet you're 100% correct. All the images that NASA produces are of a perfect sphere. So, Dave?
I can't get past the fact that America is twice the size in one of them than the other. So
right.
The fact that it's a perfect sphere is like you're already going to hell, so you might as well not get married.
Totally agree. I think those are perfectly put.
Next one is from Mr. Lowe.
Hey guys, I was bouncing off an idea that this previous speak pipe I heard, and I'm starting to envision like an invisible layer, let's call it say a mile above our heads or so, maybe 2 miles, where where the clouds are held, where the northern lights are begin, and also this idea that rainbows are actually halos. We just see a portion of it, so it looks like a curved rainbow, but from above it's a circle. And it just speaks to this idea of like this invisible layer of like high pressure, low pressure, etc. What if the firmament is that, and all the water above it is just simply vapors? Now, when clouds form, it's maybe because of a lower spot, a lower pressure, and so it can kind of collect. And then a storm is literally like a piercing of that barrier, and it's all this water is funneling and condensing on top of us. And the reason we don't see it is because it's vapors above us. But say even in a hurricane, it's literally an aggressive funnel.
Oh, they got cut off there. But basically he was saying what we were talking about earlier.
I think so, except I think he is trying to potentially replace the notion. I think he's trying to say that the spinning ball could be explained. I don't know. I couldn't decide where he was coming from.
I didn't get that at all. I think he was talking about a layer in the sky and how We're shown these satellite shots of hurricanes. I don't know if that's what I believe. I think that the hurricane might literally go all the way up to where the water is and pull it in.
I think that's a fascinating theory. I want to look into that.
All right. That was Mr. Low, as in low pressure. Next one is from Michael.
Hey guys, my name is Michael. I am a recent flat earther and just recently found your podcast. I'm loving it. I've been skipping around a little bit, and there are a couple questions that I have that you guys may have touched on. I don't know. Again, like I said, I've been skipping around, but one of my questions is, knowing that space is a vacuum, how are we receiving the heat from the sun? If the heat from the sun is going through the vacuum and then hitting the earth, our atmosphere, people are saying that, yeah, our atmosphere is what lets us receive heat, because some of the planets are cold because they don't receive the heat because they have no atmosphere. I'm like, well, it still has to travel through space, which space is a vacuum, therefore nothing should be receiving the heat. So that's a question I have that maybe our son of an astronaut can answer for us. Also, if the rockets are going into space, if there is a space and space is a vacuum, how are they thrusting? How are they combusting? So I have a hard time believing that we went to the moon and then came back through thrusting and combustion. I just don't believe that. Another thing is, through my photography, I've noticed that if I zoom in on buildings that are like 10 miles or plus away, there's no tilt. Like, these buildings should be tilted away from me because I'm looking at them, because there should be curvature. So again, I'm seeing buildings I shouldn't see, plus they're not tilted from the tilt, whatever angle it should be at, 20 degrees, 30 degrees, 40 degrees, or maybe even a full 90 degrees.
I would also say, in a vacuum, how is the sun a flaming fireball?
It's a nuclear furnace, supposedly.
I know.
I love the fact that he's a recent flat earther. Our previous caller was 3 months a flat earther. There's so many new flat earthers being born again, we'll call it.
Effie noobs.
Effie noobs. So that's exciting to hear. The no heat thing, that always got me. I actually questioned it when I was in school, and the answer I was given was that the radiation doesn't heat up until it hits something like our atmosphere.
Perfect.
But I guess he's saying that some planets don't get the heat because they don't have any atmosphere. Well, it's still hitting the planet. It should heat up when it hits the planet. It's all nonsense, and it's all made up stuff to, support the heliocentric religion.
Agreed.
And again, no rocket thrust, let alone what are you going to thrust off of and what are you going to steer off of? Because you need resistance on some sort of fin or something to steer. So
right. And what happens when an astronaut pushes off one side and goes to the other? Does it not push the spacecraft off its?
Or when they're chasing a gorilla from end to end in the space station?
Exactly.
There are all of these forces on this illogically constructed garbage. It would be putting all sorts of forces around, and none of that's accounted for, and they never address it. So what are you going to do? I don't know if that was a very good answer, but that's my answer. Next one is from Jeremy.
Gentlemen, Jeremy from Kansas here. Got one comment for Dave, one question for Dave, one question for Matt. Dave, my comment to you is, I don't know that you have expressly said this on your videos. I don't remember you saying anything about it, but one of the things that I liked about your sun fade out videos was that you can tell your drone doesn't really pan one way or the other. The trees and everything seem to stay in one position. With Earth moving at 1,000 miles an hour, one would assume that you'd have to pan the drone over time in order to catch that fade out. My question to you is, satellites, balloons, not in space, etc. I get it, but what are your thoughts on electromagnetics that actually will make those hover up there? Not that they're, obviously 150 miles up, but what are the odds that there's some sort of electromagnetics that can keep them placed similar to that little disc that you see on YouTube, where that little disc just floats around because of the electromagnetics? And then my question for Matt is, considering Lucifer, what do you think the odds are that The Vatican can actually see through the firmament and into space, which is why they've designed such a large binocular. Thanks, guys.
That is a question I've never had before, so I'm not really prepared, but I think it's a fascinating one. I think that it's a fact that the Vatican does own the majority of the large telescopes across the world, and it is a fact that the largest one that they own is named Lucifer, which I think is strange for any organization that claims to be on the side of good. Can they see through it? I'm not sure. I wouldn't put it past. Very interesting question and something I have not researched. So definitely, if you want to do some research into that, let me know.
I'm not 100% sure what his question to me was, but the comment on the drone of being able to not have to pan, it's because he doesn't realize that on the DJI Mavic, in the control settings, if you go deep inside, there's an anti-Coriolis switch, and if you turn that on, it just basically counters the Coriolis force.
Perfect.
And did you understand his question after that?
Yeah, his other one was talking about, do you think there's some kind of electromagnetic capability to basically maybe keep satellites hovering up there in our upper atmosphere?
You know, the UAP, just this morning I watched the video. They were talking about the possibility, and again, the UAP channel, it's a YouTube channel, the possibility, and they're not claiming that this is a fact, they're just exploring the possibility that NASA might be able to use some sorts of tether where they're tethering satellites from the dome above. What do you think of that as a possibility, Matt?
I think that's fascinating. I think that Dean Odell also did awesome research on how the original satellites were simply weather balloons. And I've personally gone to, there's a NASA balloon facility in Texas that I drove by and went in and asked some questions. And they only launch during a certain time of year before they go out to Antarctica and launch the majority of them there. Dean Odell was saying that he thinks that there is some kind of ether current up there that they could actually launch these balloons into, which is pretty fascinating.
Also, as far as the ability to hover up there, I just posted it's not exactly a flat Earth video on our Facebook page, and I'll link it in the show notes, about the great.
Is it a cat video?
No, it's not. It's a great
cucumbers.
Great anti-gravitic airships of the 1850s. And this researcher shows that in the 1850s there were these gigantic anti-gravitic free energy airships roaming the earth.
What?
And that our history, that they have been taken down. JP Morgan, something with JP Morgan being involved, where, you know, if this technology was true, which I believe it was, it would explain all of the Nazca lines and the pyramids and all of this other stuff if they had this technology to span the earth. And if they took it down in the 1850s, that would stop us from knowing where we live. So the globe deception and the hiding of the flat earth might even be a bigger story than we realize. So that's on our Facebook page. It's also on the website. Highly recommend you watch it. It's an incredible presentation, and you know, everything we know is a lie. Next one is from, don't even ask me, Jalaludin.
I just want to ask why during eclipse we see the crescent shape on the moon rather than a flat disk, either dividing the moon or anywhere the flat disk. But here what we see every time there is eclipse, the shadow of the earth on the moon is crescent shape. That means the shadow of one sphere, round sphere on the shape of the moon, which is also round. So I would be very thankful if you can explain this crescent shape shadow of the earth on the moon.
First, he needs to stay off the Flat Earth Society website, right? Because no flat earther out there, real flat earther, believes that we are a disk floating through space, and that we would by any means project a flat disk or line on the moon. And just because there is a curved line on the moon during an eclipse does not mean that that is the shadow of the Earth. Dave?
Irud Landucci, image in my brain, has he did a video where he took a single light source. He took, I believe he used an orange or a ball or something, and then he used a book and he clipsed the sunlight or the spotlight onto the ball, and it made a curved shadow, just like we see when we see an eclipse. Now, I'm not saying that the eclipse, the flat Earth edge, is eclipsing the sunlight. I'm saying that the brainwashing we've gotten from Bill Nye about it has to be a ball. It's the ball, no matter what angle you hit it at, it only is the only way that you can explain a curved shadow is false. Yes, it is true. No matter how you hit a light with use a ball to eclipse it, it will make a curved shadow. But that does not mean that's the only thing that can make a curved shadow.
Agreed. Once again, the difference between causation and correlation.
Exactly. The next one is from Nick.
Hey guys, what's going on? This is Nick from Minnesota. I just want to say thank you so much for what you guys do. And I'm glad that there's a real podcast out there that's not talking about flat Earth society propaganda. It's nice to hear some real information about a huge issue. I first got into flat Earth about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. You know, after reading some stuff online and thinking these people were insane, I decided to look into it. I got turned on the Eric Dubé stuff on YouTube. Started listening to interviews of him, and I was having trouble, finding more information on this topic. So, your podcast has been a huge help. Putting me on to different YouTube videos and your own videos, as well as Jeranism and ODD. So I really appreciate it. My one question is, Brian Mullen, what happened to him? Where'd he go? What are your thoughts on that? Thanks.
First, I like how he prided us on not talking about Flat Earth Society, and right after we talked about Flat Earth Society.
He said that we weren't promoting Flat Earth Society, that we weren't using them as a source. So
Which we are not.
Yeah, so you use them as a source of disinfo.
That is correct. I have some theories on Brian Mullen. I think probably his maybe his job was a little bit more important. Maybe some other stuff. Dave, what do you think?
Brian Mullen got into some situation because it affected his livelihood and his family life, and he took a step back because he needs to survive in this matrix that he lives in. And I believe he'd just gotten married and a lot of life pressures. So I don't fault Brian for stepping back. However, if you want to see all of Brian's amazing work, Balls Out Physics, paulontheplane.com has a new website up. And if you drop down the videos, I believe there's a Balls Out Physics catalog of all of Brian's videos. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with him or want to just see his stuff again, great resource.
I would also say that even though we are not fans of the system, it is necessary for us to survive by being in this system. At least we know that the system exists, right?
Right. And he also, Nick says that we've been a great resource for him, and that he has the same story that we all had. Every flat earther has the same story, that at first you thought it was ridiculous, refused to look, then you look, and then you know. So it's important when you're talking to people, trying to wake them up, just when it's starting to creep into their head and their head's spinning, that you pause for a second and say, I used to be right where you are, but somehow somebody convinced me to look hard enough.
Yep.
And that's how you get them. It's real important to say that to people, in my opinion. So that's how I've had the most success.
Nice.
Next one is from Andy.
Andy from Texas. Hey guys, I went to San Diego Comic-Con this last July and went to the Cosmos panel. Neil deGrasse Tyson, Seth MacFarlane, and Carl Sagan's widow were there promoting the new show that's going to be coming out. And during the question and answer time, teachers, probably at least two, came up and were asking questions about flat Earth. Their students are questioning the globe model, have a lot of questions, and the teachers wanted advice from Neil deGrasse Tyson on how to answer their questions, which I thought was funny. Is, you know, you're a science teacher, you can't even answer these questions. But I just wanted to call and let you know, it seems like the word is getting out. This new millennial generation isn't buying stuff just because that's what they're told. They want answers. They question things a lot, and I just thought that was really interesting. Thanks.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I've been saying that the kids are, you can't stop them. They're asking questions. I told the story, I believe, last show where a teacher that was teaching astronomy opened up their first class with, if you think the Earth is flat, you're in the wrong place and need to leave. So
wow.
it is a problem. And I encourage all the kids listening, challenge your science teachers, high school, junior high school, college. Challenge them. Ask them the tough questions, which are really easy questions from a flat Earth point of view. Get them thinking, because it's getting them asking the questions is what's really going to make the difference. So
hashtag save Houston White.
How is Houston doing? Have you been following him at all?
I have not watched in probably a couple weeks.
He has his live viewers are almost approaching double digits, and half of them or more are flat earthers, which are injecting flat Earth information in there. So when you see the Hex podcast go live, jump in the chat because your voice will be heard. Start throwing out flat Earth questions.
Yeah, and the Hex podcast is basically just the second flat Earth podcast at this point if you hop in the chat.
The Hex podcast with host Houston White. It's a must-see. It's only a half an hour show once a week. Subscribe, click that bell button, and make sure you jump in the chat and get your questions heard.
Awesome.
The next one is from Andrew.
Hey guys, this is Pack from Northeast Ohio. Big fan. You guys do a great job. So I have two questions, more or less scenarios. One, would the moon's gravitational pull affect on other matter besides the ocean? So we know the moon affects the tides. But by that I mean examples, the rain, clouds. Could the moon affect the weight of things beneath it at night if it were a full moon versus a crescent? That's the first one. Second one, wouldn't gravity affect the way things grow? The example is plants and like produce crops. Would the centrifugal force of the Earth spinning hypothetically boost the height at which things grow? Like specifically at the equator, since it would have the largest circumference and the fastest spin. Sorry if that was explained poorly. Thanks.
So this again is causation versus, what you're saying?
Correlation.
Correlation. Things probably do grow taller at the equator because it's hotter.
Right, yeah. And about the moon, you know, the way they explain it is that it affects the oceans because the mass of the ocean is much larger. And so you got M1 times N2 times big G divided by R squared is the force of gravity or whatever. But I agree that it does affect the oceans. It does not affect the rain, which is kind of strange.
And wouldn't the high when the moon is full, wouldn't it pull the oceans up and away from the shores? It would bulge it out in the middle, and make a low tide instead of a high tide.
All I know is that the tides change, yet the moon supposedly does not. Right? You have more and less intense tides over the year, yet the moon is not changing its location relative to the Earth.
Right. The phase of the moon dictates the strength of the tide. So to me, that says it's an electromagnetic force.
Agreed.
Yeah, because a new moon is still there. It's the same as a full moon.
Agreed.
Two more. The next one is from Alex.
Hey, Dave and Matt and Silent J, respectfully. I hope you come out of your silence soon. This is Alex out of Luck, Wisconsin, right in the heart of God's country. Definitely love you guys' podcast. It's blown my mind out of proportion several times over. And excuse me, I'm a little nervous here. This is my first speak pipe, but definitely been having a blast running through all the information that you guys put out there, and it's quite the blessing for anybody who believes God's truth through His Word as the foundation of everything. But within that, before I came to Christ, I was a Freemason. And it was interesting because as Jesus started to take hold of my heart, He put a lot of questions into my mind that I would ask some of the top leadership in Minnesota and Wisconsin, in both states where I was part of the cult lie. And they called the one that they worshipped collectively the architect of the universe. And isn't that intriguing? That an architect is someone who, correct me if I'm wrong, draws up plans, and Satan being that architect.
Fascinating. I'll take the first part, and I'll let you handle the rest because he's on your side of the biblical fence.
Sure.
I like that he's a fan of Clerks and appreciates Silent J.
No, that's awesome. I think the J is silent. Oh man.
Do you want to address this question?
Sure. I think it was more of a statement, but I agree that this, at least the society, the Freemasons, I mean, there are a lot of people that are Masons that don't know what's going on at the top, but just dig a little bit and you'll see that they ultimately all answer to Lucifer in the highest levels. And to say that another way, they are on the side of evil. For those of you that aren't plugged in biblically, and I think they're a large part of the propaganda machine that's putting out the ball.
All right, we have one more. It might be the same person. Let's see.
Hey guys, this is Alex in Luck again. Sorry.
Oh no.
Seem to have gotten cut off there mid sentence, but as I was saying.
All right.
Yeah. So that's just one of our rules, right? We got too many speak pipes. You get one. You got to stay within the time limit. Definitely call back next week.
That should wrap it up. Any final announcements? Where can people find you? What are you doing next? What do you got planned?
So
other than
next,
a shotgun wedding hosted by Dean Odell.
Yeah, Dean Odell is going to marry us. Dave, you're going to be there.
I have that's a tough one. You know, you're asking a lot of people to travel on
tough.
New Year's. It's crazy. I have a suggestion for you.
All right, let's hear it.
You're basically going to be doing a big party, right?
That's exactly right.
And there's so many people you'd like to invite, but you can't invite everybody. And some of the people that you want to invite might not be able to make it.
True.
Rent or buy an 80-inch television and set up a Google Hangout with a dedicated camera. Have that running at the party where people can come and go and talk and just like they're in the room.
I think that's a great idea.
It's cheap. Easy. I mean, just rent the television, or whatever, and you can. That'll be just like a fixed. Have it like its own table. Maybe even set it up at a table where people can come over and sit at that table and see what's going on.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think you need to come. I think you need to come help me set it up.
I think I can do that remotely, actually.
Once again, thank you to the very Reverend David Weiss.
I have one more question for you before we end this up. Matt, you and I met at the conference last year, and we've been doing the podcast together. So we talk a lot, and we would take the time to do the podcast. What is a greater sum of hours? The amount of time you and I have talked together, or the amount of time you and your future bride have talked together?
I'd say that we are...
The fact that it's even a question is fascinating.
I'll say this. When you know, you know. Right. And I wouldn't have said it before, but Flat Earth is a must for all you single people looking for someone special.
Wait, and she has a big extended family that all live on this compound, and they're all Flat Earthers, right? Is that possibly blurring your attraction? Is that possibly like, oh my God, a Flat Earth family, a beautiful young girl? I don't have to have any more babies because she has 3.
I think compound is a strong word. I think her children are wonderful, and I think
of course they're wonderful. I'm not saying that at all.
And I think we'll have some more, actually. But yeah, her whole family are Flat Earthers. It's pretty incredible.
That is very attractive thought, to be honest. And
Imagine,
my mother-in-law,
imagine during the holidays not having to make anybody mad. Everybody's already on the same page.
Paige's mom, I said my mother-in-law because essentially we are married in our minds. She recently just flipped. She used to say Flat Earth was nonsense. She sent us turn on CBS this morning because she was watching it, and she's the one who alerted us that when it first came on. And then I sent her, I think it was the Morgiles breakdown of it. And I figured I sent that to her a couple days later, figured that she would just explode. And her email back was, he makes some really good points. Flat Earth is very, very interesting, and it might be true. Right now in my life, I don't know if I can handle switching publicly, but have a great time in Denver. Can't wait to hear about it. How good is that?
Wow,
Yeah.
that's great. That's a great response. I'd say that's something a flat earther would say.
Yeah, there's the flat Earth. You know, you talked about flu season earlier. There's the flat Earth flu. It's incurable once you get bit.
Oh, that's true. That's true. And just to go back on this notion of family, Jessica, her little sister, Summer Lowen, has a YouTube channel called No Lies, Dome Skies, and they were actually both just on Patricia Steer's show a couple weeks ago. So y'all, if y'all want to learn more about them, y'all can check them out. So,
All right.
But you can find me at flatworth.com, on Facebook at Flatworth, on Instagram at Flatworth. Dave, Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole on YouTube. What else, Dave? Let's talk about the podcast website.
The podcast website is where you can go, theflatearthpodcast.com. It has links to the podcast, to my YouTube, to Matt's YouTube. It's all there. There's downloadable art. There's all the resources you need to help flat smack everybody and help open their minds. And my final statement is I'd rather have a mind opened by wonder than closed by belief.
We'll see you guys next time.
I blame you for the way we live, why we don't give, why we don't try. Blame you for the fiction skies with your deep space lies, but the truth will rise. Don't see no real satellites. Yeah, we believe what they said too soon about the stars and the moon. In a rush for the truth, we believe with no proof, lost in the romance. We must ask why. And did they think it was fine to let us think we're less than divine? Whoa, whoa. We know you've never reached the moon, that it's all cartoons, that it's all just skies. We hide and we accept their lies, but we must see why we need to rise. Don't see no real satellites. Now we lost what it means to be true. Are you sure that it's you? If you could open your eyes, you would see we've been fooled. Don't wonder why. Just open up your mind so you can see the world's greatest deception ever. We know now that the earth's not round, that it don't spin round, 'cause the truth's been found. We know now that they can exist, though your shots just missed. What a perfect twist. Don't see no real satellites. Now when you look to the stars and the moon and Mars, you need to know what they are to understand this concept. Don't pass it by. Take a shot in the dark, hit the mark, blame you for the way we live, why we don't give, why we don't try. We know now that they can't exist, that it's all just myths, so your shots just missed. Don't see no real satellites. Open up your mind so you can see the world's greatest deception ever. Blame you for the way we live, why we don't give, why we don't try. We know now that the earth's not round, that it don't spin round, 'cause the truth's being found. See no real satellite.